Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Krishna Priya, and this is the Human Colony Hucolo webinar on 17 December 2022. We have a little bit of a special webinar that we're going to do. We're going to have a little chat for a few minutes on some things going on in the spiritual UFO channeling community, which maybe we need to address. I always like to talk about this subject. But some big happenings that have happened in the last week or so. And then we'll go into some open channeling for anyone in the YouTube chat and or in the room that would want some healing or has some questions that we can answer. So we'll start off with announcements from our dear, lovely Angie. So Angie, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Our next class that is scheduled for the Human Colony group is the Tarot Mastery class. Excuse me. We had it scheduled for January 14th, but we're not going to be able to do it that day. Our friend Karen, the instructor, will be unavailable.
Krishna Priya.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Krishna Priya. Thank you. And so we've moved it 2 weeks later. We're going to be doing it on January 28th and 29th, Saturday and Sunday. And this class is teaching you tarot.
Should I describe it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure that can you hear me all right? Because I've heard people say that they can't hear me, and I'm just going to turn my input volume just up a little. Okay, so you can hear me. I'm speaking. I was hoarse the entire week. I lost my voice earlier, so I'm a little scratchy. But basically, this class was born out of my work with tarot. I use tarot daily when I'm doing psychic readings, and I do a lot of contact with people that have passed over, but as well as contacting people's guides. And I just had the idea, well, if I can do people's guides, I can do past life. And so I started working with tarot, and I was able to develop an entire system because there's really no difference. It's who are you contacting? And it's basically the different questions that you would ask to ask when would they live, where would they live, male, female, what kind of person, what are their needs and wants. And you develop an entire picture based on, say, a past life. And then through your own intuitive ability, you also are able to, and you can use tarot to get dates and times and names. And I've had fantastic experiences. For my work, I developed a guide to using tarot in this way. I created a dictionary and a whole reference. And so it's a very beautiful system. It literally works every single time. And it's a very teachable thing that someone can add to their toolbox, even if they're not an expert on tarot, because you're not using tarot in the traditional sense. You're using it sort of as a fact-finding mission. And that's the way that I approach it. And again, it works. I've had some fantastic experiences. My clients really, really get the answers that they're asking, and there's really nothing that you can't ask, because tarot is on very many levels, so I'm excited to present this class, and you're invited. And it's on the 28th and 29th. It's going to be 2 days because we could not do it in one day, but just the basis will be laid on the first day, and then the second day will be more practical, where you'll do your own spreads, because it's multiple. It's not just one spread that tells you everything. Basically, you start off with information, you build it out, and you build it out, and then you go to another question. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm happy to share it with anyone who is trying to contact their guides, find out who they were in a past life, maybe who they would be in a future life, but that would be very hard to verify. But you might find verifiable past lives, and I did find one, a verified one. And so there's different things, and also your different guides in contacting people that have passed over. So it's a nice system, and you're invited. So what is the cost, Angie?
The cost is $150, and you can send information about registering for this class is classes@hucolo.org. the thing that I wanted to also say that it's in January. We were going to do it January 14th, but now we're going to do it January 28th and 29th. So if you're interested, classes at hucolo.org. I will get all the information on how to register and also where to send the payment.
Right. And just for those that do take the class, you do need a tarot deck. Any deck that you feel an affinity to, that's the most important thing. It's because it's going to speak to you. I'll be working with the Thoth Tarot and also Rider-Waite. Those are the two decks that I will work with in the class, but you're welcome to work with any deck that you have an affinity for. So yes. And we should start off with some prayers. So, Susan, I'm looking at you. Angie, I'm looking at you. Is there anybody else in the chat that would like to do a prayer? Praying. Anyone else? My chat, for some reason, show chat. I couldn't see the chat. Let me see. Anyone else say yes? Show chat. Oh, there we go. Okay. Good morning, everybody. So, Mavis just went out. Now he's come back. Okay. So we'll start with you, Wendy, Susan, sorry.
Yes.
You are one person in my mind.
we are like telepathically joined. So, all right. Tosia ki te ko se ka haya toia ye tia sukutotia ye te ke te koto ya zikia toto ya hi sukutoya ye sukuya toia tia follow your inner truth sukutoya ye ta kaya to hazia koya ye sukuya ye suku your connection to source through the heart sukutoya ya sikito hazia yuko ya sikia ye koya ye sukuto hazia sukutu tukutoya tukoya trust yourself as an aspect of creator sukuto hayitia ko hiasia that is where your truth lies sukuto hayatia kotaya sakatia wo hazil kotaya hiya sukutia hia suko your source of truth is within you. Sukotoya sukoya tia ko it will never lead you astray. Sukotoya ko aya sakatia o hazia ukotaya kia do ya sikia yotuko hiazia ko ya tia ko yesia tukotoya. There are many that wish to assist you. Sukotoya hia sukotoya hayekia connect with those that you resonate with. Sukoto hayete hayukoto yate yahu hiazikia ya sukoto ya sukoto ya sikia ho hiazia ko te ya tukuto ya hiasi call upon your star family. Sukoto hayete hayukoto ya those that love you. Sukoto hazia ya sukotaya ya kukoya that warm your heart. Sukoto hayakia uto hazia koto hayatitia ukoto ya sikio yatia Siki, for we are here with you. Sukutoya always. Sukutoya tietuko. Sukutoya sikitia sukuya tukoya siki. Blessings and love. Sukutoya yetaya.
Lovely, beautiful. Okay, Angie. And while you're doing the prayer, I just have to get some water, so I'm just going to turn off my thing in 1 second. Okay.
O tu ia na hai te kia a ta ua. Na ha ta sa ni a kia oa ni ti. Sihania oa te kia ana o tu kuara. Ti ira tu kuri ini shana a kukura. Biana na neki ana shoto. Blessings.
Okay, I'm back. There we go. Great. All right. Okay. Thank you. I can feel my throat starting to really go scratchy. So what I wanted to talk about today, and we've talked about this before in the past and in different ways, but I've talked to different people on different shows about it, but something that's really important to me is what is called the 4 levels of speech. Basically, that what you say, what you think, your actions, and your thoughts all are in alignment with each other, because we as people who are on the internet, but people walking around the world who are light workers, we are influencing our world. And it's so important that our actions reflect what we say, that it's coming from our heart, and that we really, believe what we're saying. And there are people in this world and in every world. I mean, the spiritual world is just a reflection of the world in general. There's no difference in the business world versus the spiritual world. There are people that are genuine, sincere, that have your best interest at heart. And then there's people who are in it for just the money, and they'll say one thing but act a different way. And there's a lot of people who will take advantage of you and take advantage of groups of people. And there's other people that see that bandwagon and jump on it and also take advantage of lots of people. And I'm specifically referring to something that's just come out in the spiritual world. I'm so relieved it came out. I talked about it years ago. I got a lot of pushback, so I just stopped talking about it because it wasn't worth it. I couldn't go again. So, I wasn't going to change it. And the pushback got to be uglier than what I was talking about. And so, but it has to do with discernment and teachers that are teaching what they're teaching and then asking people to believe. And at the same time, how that lie that they're teaching starts snowballing and becoming bigger and bigger and sort of scooping up all kinds of things with it. And it really can cause a very negative effect. It can cause a negative effect on people. It can cause a negative effect on society. And it definitely does not have people in alignment. And so I'll be very specific. I'm speaking particularly of Corey Goode and the whole, 20 and back, super soldier BS that's been out there in the world. I'm not saying that it's all BS, but what I'm saying is they're not his ideas. He stole them. He lied. He created an entire little cult around him. And basically he's now just admitted that it was all a lie. And it's good that he admitted it, because now this kind of thing is coming to light, because what's truth needs to come to the forefront. But that being said about him, it really got me thinking about discernment and how do you know that what you're being told is true? And how do you know what you should believe? And I have the principle, I believe that if it's not really uplifting and empowering and giving you the power, then well, Angie, there's a delay on YouTube. That's why. And it's okay for it to be us side by side. It's no problem. So I don't know why you sent me that message. Why did you send me the message, Ange?
I wanted you to be presenter because.
Oh, okay, but I because this was going to be a discussion. I didn't need to just do it by myself.
Yeah, I just was. Yeah.
Okay, so back to my point is that discernment is key, especially in the spiritual world, because we're talking about our deepest beliefs that are instructing our life. And so if what people are saying to you is not based in love, if it's finding an enemy, if it's identifying an other, it's not oneness. You can't have oneness and another. There is no exclusivity on spirituality. There is no person that only is the truth and everybody else is wrong. There's no anyone that comes out and says everybody else that channels is not correct is one, incorrect, and two, liar and deluded. Maybe not deluded, but definitely manipulative. And so you just have to have the discernment. And you also have to be willing to hear criticism and pros and cons of something. We've come to a day and age in society where no one can handle an opposing opinion. Everyone's like, even if social media, I'm blocking you because you're saying something that I don't want to hear. And the other person blocks you, and there's all this back and forth but no one can have a critical discussion and be willing to listen and really take on what is being said by an opposing view. So if I come to you and I say, I'm the only one that can really channel, it's only what I channel that's truth. Well, you probably aren't going to know me. So you're going to probably say, yeah, you're full of it. But there's people that are, say, on television or have a bigger following, that people really believe that, and they start to believe they're the only one. So everything else, and we see the questions in the chat. This one says they're the only one. This one says this one is deceived. This one, well, maybe they are. Maybe someone is deceived, but the person telling you, maybe they're deceived. And you have to have the ability to ask yourself the questions. What are they saying? It's the content of what they're saying, and it's like, what are they doing in their life? And I'll give you just a small example, and this is a little bit to the side, but I heard a really great speaker in India talking about to men, and she was saying, you can go to the temple and do all of these beautiful ceremonies and pujas to the goddess, but you go home and beat your wife. You don't think the goddess knows what you're doing. Well, it's the same thing. If you're walking around talking love and light, and then you're cheating and stealing and lying the rest of your time, you're not in alignment. And so a lot of these teachers, you have to ask, what are they teaching? And then what are they doing? And you have to be willing to see all of it. Corey Goode, as an example, made a whole bunch of money. I'm not opposed to people making a bunch of money, but he made a bunch of money on a lie. He knew it was a lie. His followers did not know it was a lie. He was happy to let them believe it wasn't a lie. And then when people would speak out against him, what did they do? They attacked him. They attacked the speakers. They doxed them. Doxing means they put all of their public information on the internet, so people would call them and attack them. And the people that are attacking them, what are they attacking them for? Because they're attacking a truth that they believe. But if they're attacking the truth that they believe, if they really believe it in inside themselves, they're not going to attack people. You know what I mean? They're not going to attack. They'll just be like, it's what I believe. You don't want to believe it, fine. But instead, he's sending out people to attack people, to verbally abuse them, to physically threaten them, all of these things. And this guy is love and light. He's supposed to be the second coming of I don't know what. He's supposed to be the ambassador for all the alien races to the earth. And yet he's having, his little sort of quote unquote goons on Facebook and Twitter, who are saying, oh, you're the only one that's telling the truth. That's a cult. That's a cult. So basically what's happened is David Wilcock and Corey Goode propagated this entire lie on Gaia TV. I don't really hold Gaia TV that culpable, because Gaia TV presented it as a fiction, not nonfiction. But all of the other people who were like promoting them were promoting the lie because they were all making money from it. And so Corey Goode finally came out in a court case, because he has to, where he was, fighting to copyright words like Blue Avian, to copyright words like Super Soldier or Secret Space Program or any of these words, because he wants to make money anytime any of those words are said. So he has to prove, he had to prove in court that he had the right to copyright those words, that those were words of his invention. And basically what it came out in court is, not only did he admit that he'd never been to space, he had never had any of these experiences, it was all a story. And he says, I'm a content creator, that's what I do. But he basically admitted that he literally admitted he lied. He said, it's not true. I've never been to space. I've never had these experiences. I made up the whole thing. Which is great, but then there's a fallout, and not to focus too much on him, but it's just a great beginning of this conversation, because if you look at all the things that got swept up into the whole Corey Goode saga, QAnon, they swept that up. They had this dark being alliance where they were sort of starting to attack different people. They were saying all channelers are part of the Dark Being Alliance because they talk against us. So then all of a sudden, every channeler who wasn't Corey Goode or David Wilcock was now in question, having to defend themselves against these hordes of people who are so rabidly willing to believe and thinking everybody else is evil. It's just crazy stuff. So it's out now. It's good. We can move on as a community. But again, there's always another Corey Goode or David Wilcock around the corner. You know, there's always somebody waiting to tell you that. I mean, it's how cults are started. It's how cults, and we've got enough problems in the world. We don't need any more cults. And truly, as light workers, if we're trying to bring light into the world, we don't need to be caught up in these crazy theories and these far out things that couldn't possibly be true. Some of the stuff that Corey Goode talked about was not his. I would tell you, if he had been like a sci-fi writer, he could have gone that direction and maybe had a huge career, you know, maybe. But instead, he decided to sell it as his truth, as the truth, you know, and it all went wrong. But what was I going to say? Oh, shoot, I lost my train. Where was I? What was I saying? Susan, what was I saying? What was I saying? I have to get back to my train of thought.
Oh, about if he were a sci-fi writer, he would have been making a lot of money, but he decided to, basically sell lies.
Tell lies, and then the more people that pushed against him, what did he do? He attacked them. He took them to court. He's in so many lawsuits. There's people like C.W. Chanter, who a lot of people have a problem with. I love him because he really sees through it. Oh, this is what I was going to say. You know, Corey Goode stole all of his story, his starting story, from Project Camelot, from those websites that were all of these people with their own experiences, like the whole Blue Avian thing. Corey Goode didn't come up with that. That had been around forever. The Blue Avians had made contact with somebody a long time ago, but he just grabbed that all up. And he was on, it's one of the things that C.W. Chanter does, and I hope he's watching because hi, C.W., is that he has been following conspiracy theories and all of these things for years because he loves to debunk them. And it's very important to debunk as well as accept. You know, it's great to accept things, but it's also good to have the discernment and, you know, and not accept everything as truth. And I remember on one of CW's talks, he was able to like either show or he mentioned that he had like the actual screenshots from the old Project Camelot and Project Avalon, I believe, websites where Corey Goode was in the audience years before he ever came up with this stuff, and he didn't know anything. So he basically stole a lot of people's other experiences, made them his own. A great storyteller, apparently, because he got the attention of David Wilcock, who is another one who basically just finds out whatever's sort of hot in the spiritual world and then comes out with it like it's his, you know. And then he makes a lot of money, and when none of his stuff he says comes true, all the predictions he makes, when he just kind of goes away, stays a little low, and people, you know, have a very short memory. So he comes back and he's like, oh, the second coming of this or that and the other thing, and he does it again, and he's done it again and again and again, David Wilcock. So that being said, in the spiritual world, there are a lot of people who will tell you a lie, make a lot of money off of you, and then when they go away, they've left like basically a trail of tears behind them. And they've devastated some people's lives. People have given them thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. Well, not one person giving them millions, but people cumulatively have given them so much money, supporting them. And you see what said on Twitter, oh, thank you for the work you're doing. What are you doing? You're lying. You know, thank you for sharing all this with us. Well, basically, they've lied. So please, please, please use discernment in any channeling, in any teacher that you read. Question yourself. If someone says on one side of their mouth, up, love, or light, we're going to save the world. The second side of the mouth is, I'm the only one that can tell you the truth. Anyone that tells me is against me. We have to go after those people and attack them. These people are not good people. So I just I want to put that out there. And I want to share my screen just so you know that I'm not telling a lie, just so you know that I'm not exaggerating. I want to show the actual moment. This is public. This is a public deposition. It is full rights. So please don't ding us on copyright. But I want to show this him and his confession, basically. And I'm not responsible for what came up on YouTube on the side, but I just want to share this. Here we go. Wait a minute. Here we go.
At some point in time?
Yeah, that's when I meditate, those are my guides.
Okay. And that's the future species living inside the earth?
Yes.
And you communicate with them on a regular basis?
Yeah, and it's also a part of my IP and creative arts that we're making movies and video games out of.
So you're saying that no one else can communicate with them but you?
Well, yeah. Well, they're my spirit guides. They came from me.
And so you're saying Anshar is unique to you. No one else can communicate to them but through you.
Let's see, Anshar.
Just answer my question.
It's in my franchise Bible. It is my creation. I'm a content creator.
Understand?
Whether I have my life stories mixed with some drama, which I've always made public as well, and in this book.
Do you remember my question? Do you have my question in mind?
Yeah.
Okay, what is my question?
The Anshar are a creation.
That's not my question. My question is, can anyone else communicate to Anshar?
To something I created?
Other than through you?
That's something I created.
And then he's talking about the 20 and back and how he made up the 20 and back story. And
you state you've gone away for over 20 years and you come back and you haven't aged, correct?
Well, the 20 and back story in the book is that you're taking off planet, you serve 20 years, your age regressed, and you're put back in time to where you were first removed.
Is that the story, or is that what happened to you?
It is the story.
So it's not what happened to you?
Not necessarily.
And then Darkfleet, he says that because the defense attorney basically asked him, he was like, do you ever quantify or ever tell the audience that your stories are fake and made up? And he says, yes, I tell them in the book that I made. And he has the book in his hand. He's like using it as some kind of defense. I don't know how he thinks having his book there is going to be any kind of defense in his case. But he's like, yeah, I plainly state in this book that there's the real Corey Goode, right? And then there's the fake Corey Goode with these made up, exaggerated stories.
Do you put a footnote in your book that this is embellished and this is fictional, this is not real?
It says that there's Corey with his real story, and here's the fake or the science fiction story built on top of Corey's story. It says that in here.
And then the next one is the big, huge wow moment. Because again, we have to remember, Shane, is he's been trying to pass off all of his experiences as physical experiences, right? He's been leading people to believe since 2015, since he was on Gaia, that all of these experiences were real physical experiences, that he went to space in his physical body, that he fought aliens for 20 years, then he was age regressed back in time to the very point that he was taking, right? And the defense attorney asked him, he said, Corey, have you ever been to space? And he says, oh, physically? And then the defense attorney says, yes, physically. And he says, I don't believe so.
Did you ever go to space?
Did I ever go to space?
Yes.
In my physical body?
Yes.
I don't believe so, but I traveled astrally, and I traveled out to outer space. And
that is the biggest win of the entire deposition right there. That says everything, because he's been trying to pass all of these bullshit fairy tale fighting aliens in space stories, channeling these beings, the sphere being alliance, as that they're physical experiences when they haven't been this entire time.
Okay. So
It's been kind of saying both, right?
Let me turn it off. So
It was
it's
actually, and
not
that's
still
one
playing.
of the things that I've always kind of made fun of, is like, you guys are having these experiences in your pajamas because like you're not physically going anywhere.
And they go into this whole thing about having experiences in pajamas. But the point is, it's not about if you're doing something astrally, but to tell people a lie, to tell people that you're doing something to make yourself look more important than other people. I'm sure there's lots of people that are, I mean, and I know it, they're astral traveling, they're having experiences, they're doing all these things, but his experiences is not how he presented them. He built a whole belief system on a fiction. And then he had other people believing him. And then at the same time, using those people to attack, it's like clear the field so I can be the only one. And that's what was really wrong. And you see it in any cult. I'm the only one. I'm the chosen one. I'm the one. There is no that. The world is too big. There's very few chosen ones. And it's definitely not some guy sitting in his underwear going to space, you know, fighting whomever, and then telling all the other people that anything else that's being told is wrong. And that's just, I felt it in the very beginning. Many people have felt it, but there's a lot of other people who didn't. And there was a split in like 2016 in the spiritual community based on this and based on that. And I just hope that it's just a moment for us to take pause and to really question what is being told to you as truth on every level. I really believe in asking the hard questions. I don't believe in taking anything at face value. You know, the only thing I will take at face value is love. Anything else, I can't take it as face value, because there's always some motive attached to it. There's always some motive. And usually, I mean, Gaia TV, Corey Goode, David Wilcock, they were all making money off of these things, which is fine. But at the same time, Gaia puts in there that it's not real. They say that even all of their thing, ancient aliens, all of these things are put into that they are fictional depictions, that they are theories that people have, but they're not put in as real. And this just turned out to be very not real. And so if you were a believer in Corey Goode, then just reevaluate. And I'm sure the thing is because he took so many other people's stuff that had real experiences, he took the experiences and sold them as his own. There's probably stuff that resonates with you because you're like, well, wait, I recognize that. But just realize that the guy telling you about it is not the guy who had the experience. You know, he stole it. It would be like if I told a story. I'll give you an example. I had something with my wrist happen years ago. Years ago, I fell down the stairs and my wrist got put out of alignment. And for years, I had so much pain in my wrist. And then I fell down and my wrist went back into alignment years later. And it was like, wow, this is like a miracle. And someone said, can I use that story in my book? And I'm like, but that's my story. And they wanted to use it. They at least asked. I said no. But people do that. They take other people's experiences and then they sell them as their own. And that's what he did. So, okay. So my point is, be discerning, question stuff. If it doesn't ring true to you, you're not wrong to question it. You should question it, and you should always listen to your heart. And if something seems too fantastical and too out there, don't let other people bully you into thinking that they're right and you're wrong, just because it's the popular opinion. You know, as as Esther Hicks says, a lot of times there's never a crowd on the leading edge of thought. You might be the only one saying this isn't true, but eventually, years later, you'll be vindicated. And C.W. Chanter is vindicated, and Kevin Moore is vindicated. I feel vindicated. Everyone else who has thought this doesn't resonate with them is vindicated. And I'm just really glad. And I'm hopeful that going forward, this can be like a big learning experience for everyone to just question a little bit what's being said. Yeah. So, do you have any opinions, Susan?
Yeah, a lot of what you've said has has resonated with me. Just my own personal experience with my enlightenment journey since probably around July, August of 2019, when I kind of dropped from the ego mind into the heart and following my heart. And if something feels good, moving in that direction. If something doesn't feel good, don't go in that direction. But once I decided to do that and more go within and more follow my heart and yeah, just using your own discernment. If something doesn't feel right, if it doesn't resonate, like trust that. Don't let the popular opinion, dictate what your truth is and what, direction you want to go in your life. Do what makes you feel good, I guess, and trust your own discernment, trust your connection to source, that you're always connected to source. Drop into the heart, listen to that still small voice within primarily. And I know from personal experience, I mean, I've had friends, family members kind of drop out of my life because of me expressing my truth, not to try to convince them of their, of going against their truth, but just saying this is how I think, this is how I feel, just being authentic. And where it has triggered some of, so-called false beliefs in their mind, it's triggered those things, or things that, if they're more in the ego, and where it's shut me out of their life. I've been accused of channeling demons by extended family members for being just for being a channeler, because it's in the Bible, or
It's not in the Bible.
Yeah, so I'm just and so just things that to me are just like how can you think that? But I do just allow every person to have their own truth, their own opinion. I mean, we're all here to have our own experience. And especially I think in this lifetime, it is choosing between fear and love, choosing to be afraid, and I've worked through my own fears, programming, whatever you want to call it, where I literally don't fear anything, because I know fear is an illusion, basically, and love is the truth, in essence. And and that there really are no limits except for those you put upon yourself based on what you believe about this world that you yourself are creating, based on thoughts, words, beliefs, actions. So I've had to break through a lot of that myself through going within and examining the thoughts that come up in your mind and saying, is this really true, or is this what I've been programmed into believing? Is this somebody else's story that I've taken on and put my belief towards? And so I've probably in the last year or so, I've really just naturally stopped resonating with a lot of some of the shows out there that have more negative connotations, or this is what you should think, this is what you should believe, or just also projecting into the future about potentials that might happen. I mean, I take more of an observer stance, and then just like go within myself and like, does this ring true to me? And if it doesn't, I just let it pass by. I don't put my focus or attention towards it if it's not something that I want in my reality, I guess, or bring into my reality.
What it is for me was what was interesting, and I think, and is that there was sort of pre sort of Gaia TV, there was not this sort of, there was this sort of spiritual world, metaphysical world, angels, everyone was getting in touch with their guides, their higher self. And then the extraterrestrials were part of it. But what happened is that the ET thing sort of eclipsed the spiritual side of it. And it all became about first contact. And it was weird that like the spirituals and they became like this one thing. And in my mind at that time, for me, it was always separate. Like I always said this when I first came to Hucolo, I don't know squat about ETs. I don't think about ETs. I'm not in touch with ETs. I'm not in contact with them. And how they sort of coalesced and became this sort of one thought. So all of the thoughts that were part of the ET / conspiracy community came rushing in to the spiritual world. You know, when Esther Hicks started channeling, or what's her name that I can't think of, Jane Roberts was channeling, there was no talk about extraterrestrials or ETs or any of that. It was all about your spiritual path, getting an alignment, going into your ascension. The world was going to ascend. And somewhere the ET thing came in and it became only about ETs. And somehow the ascension was tied to alien contact. They're not the same. It's not the same. It's two separate things. And somehow it's become amalgamated into this. And the idea that every alien that we would encounter is going to be this higher spiritual being, I can't believe that's true. Because there wouldn't be wars off planet, you know, and all these things that people are discerning. However, I believe that there are spiritual ETs that are sharing their information, but what do they share that's any different than anything else that's being channeled by angels? It's all going inside, getting an alignment, being a better person, sharing your truth, knowing yourself. It has nothing to do with first contact.
Right.
And so there was this weird thing. And then when sort of the Gaia TV alien thing came in and all of this conspiracy and QAnon got birthed and QAnon got swept up into the ET thing, people went a little crazy. And it became Trump is the savior of the world and all this kind of stuff that had nothing to do with spirituality. And then, you know, you have people like Simon Parks just blowing out BS, fear, and all so much stuff has nothing to do with spirituality. And I would really love to just get back to walking the spiritual path. Yes, it's great to be in touch with extraterrestrials because they definitely have a message. But I don't think as a blanket we can say they're all good or all bad. And, you know, first it was demons. Everything was a demon. Then it became everything was a reptilian. Then it became everything was a archon. And then I mean it's just this rolling who's the bad guy now, you know, kind of stuff. And it's gotten very convoluted. And I'm still trying to that's why I go to India, because I just want to sit in the spirituality. I don't want to be in the thing of, you know, deciding if the Pleiadians are going to come save us. Nobody's going to save us but ourselves. There is no Santa Claus, Jesus entity of alien species and or otherwise that is going to show up and save us. We have to save us. And the way we save ourselves is by getting in alignment and making better choices, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's become this whole thing. And the thing that we forget when we're watching something on TV is, bottom line, Gaia is a commercial entity. They are there to make money. They're there to give programming that is interesting that people will watch, because when people want to watch it, they will pay the subscription. That's all that is. And so, you know, in a world that's moving so fast, it has to be more fantastical, more fantastical. It has to be bigger and bigger to pull your attention. Just like, you know, people's attention span has gotten like this from the internet, because now, you know, content, 30 seconds, people, 3 seconds, people are out. If you don't grab their attention in 3 seconds, they don't want to listen. There was a guy in the chats going, this is a boring conversation. I'm really sorry, it's boring, but it's important. So maybe just hang on. We'll get to the end of this soon. But the thing is that it's important to know what you're watching, who's presenting it, not just believing because it's Gaia TV, which is the goddess of you know, the earth, that it's good. It doesn't mean it's good. You know, Gaia, we should just slap the word Netflix or whatever on the top, Apple TV, you know, and not have the same, and people don't have the same expectations as when they watch Netflix, that whatever they're watching is real and truth, as they do if they're watching something called Gaia. So that's a deception right there, right? Not that I don't have a problem really with Gaia TV, but I have a problem with this idea that there's something that they're not. They're a commercial entity that is trying to make money, trying to make engaging content that people can watch, and they're going to present what people want to see, you know, because it sells and it pays their bills and it keeps them going, you know, and the same thing with the people who are out there making a lot of the big money. That's why David Wilcock shows up with a new theory every few years, because it's what's hot. And then he exploits it. So just be careful, everybody. That's all I'm trying to say. Be careful. Angie, did you want to say anything?
Well, I just really wanted to, you know, back that it's so important that we, you know, as that light worker community, or the community light worker, that we also not indulge or express or say that, you know, those things as well. You know, it's, you know, when I always look at all of the channeling, I always say, is it bettering me? Is it going to help me? Is it positive? Because, you know, or is it trying to exploit me, build me up, trying to get me to go into a different direction? So it's really so very important to, you know, is it positive? Is it helpful? Is it gonna, the information that we're all getting, is it gonna help us move, maybe not just me, but, you know, like everyone else, help them move into a positive thought process. So, you know, there's so much out there that, there's so much out there being expressed, and just really, really think about how is it going to affect you?
Yeah. And is it going to uplift you and
Right.
help you be better? Or is it driving you into fear?
Right.
You know, it happens it happens. I had a guy that I was giving a psychic reading to, and he was like, oh, the last reader I talked to told me I had, you know, that I had a bad luck curse on me, and now I've got to go get it removed. And I'm like, oh, God, you know,
Yep. Yeah.
You know what, when they say, I wish she was still alive, my teacher, Caroline Hart, she would just say, when you lighten up and you raise your vibration and you're in a high vibration, lower vibrations can't grab you. So if you're in a high vibration, even if you have a bad luck curse, it's not going to affect you because you lighten up. But it's just, you have to undo this programming that's self-fulfilling. Exactly. I have bad luck. My life is terrible. Everything goes wrong for me. Nothing, you know, people call and say, nothing ever works out for me. Well, there's your mantra. You've already stated what you believe, and you're going to find evidence of it. So, okay, so let's move on. But I just wanted to express that I love everybody. And the reason I want to express it is because I just want everyone to be able to find their truth and live a happy life independent of the BS that's out there. And the more of us that say no to this stuff and just, or ignore it, which is even better, it will just eventually, hopefully, go away. But we don't have to participate with it. So, okay. So what we're going to do now. Thank you,
Karen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I know it's a not a comfortable conversation. So now we're going to move into open channeling for the next hour. So anybody that has any questions that they want answered, we've got a panel here of great channels and people that can ask their question. Anything, if you want healing, you can ask for that as well, and we will be happy to answer it. So anyone, question? If there's no questions, then great. It means everyone's walking in the truth and the alignment. They know who they are, and there's just nothing to talk about. Any questions? Susan, do you have any questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Wait,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Megan has a question, but you ask your question first since you're here.
So I recently, well, I had a couple dreams recently. One was where it was almost like a vision of what the ascension would be, where at first it was like I was walking on I have a pathway around the side of my house, and it was almost like I was looking at the sunset through the trees because I live surrounded by woods. And then, but I was like the trees, I could see through the trees and I could reach my hand through like the body of the tree. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is cool. And then in that same dream later, I was walking along that same path and I had a couple people walking in front of me that I didn't know, but it was like the golden Christed light is all I can think of that was coming through the trees, was like 10 times as bright. It felt like liquid gold, basically, that I was merging into. Like I just felt such a love, such a warmth, and the trees were lit up too. They were no longer as transparent, but were filled with more light, and I was feeling like I was being filled with this light as well. And I felt, yeah, just no fear, no hesitation to continue walking towards the light, to merge with that light. And it was just an amazing dream. But it was almost like a vision of what I'm walking towards with being on the ascension path. And so I had that dream, and then I had another dream where I felt I met for the first time, talked to a couple gnomes that were like a male and female couple that said they were elder gnomes, and that I would start seeing and speaking with them more than I channel them now, and speak their light language. But that was kind of the first time I had seen, like in a dream or or in person, seen gnomes or nature beings in that way and communicated with them. But it was kind of like they came over to talk to me, and we're saying like, you're going to be connecting with us more, you're going to be, you're going to see us more. And then when they said that, off in the distance, I also saw like 3 or 4 Sasquatch kind of walking along the path where they came from. And I've communicated with one Sasquatch before, but
in your dream. So what is your question?
Just any additional meaning around those dreams. And if I am going to be seeing nature beings more, either in my dreams or visually in my life, if that's kind of connecting with them to a greater degree than I do now, as well as that visual that I saw was that just kind of confirmation of me moving along in the right direction on my ascension path, because it was so beautiful and amazing. But
well, I would say they told you that you're going to have more connection with them, so I would believe.
Yes.
And it sounds like you were in a phased world where you could see and experience those beings.
Yes.
I don't know that you would see them with your physical eye, or if it would only be in your meditation. And but if they say that you're going to have more contact, and you say you already are channeling, you are having more contact.
Yeah.
So I guess the answer would be yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, I do.
I don't know. I don't know what else. Well, I mean, you're having the experience of it, right?
Yeah.
So you're not trusting your own experience?
No, I do, but I just didn't know if there was any.
Well, I mean,
I guess any additional information about that, but no, I trust that I'm moving in the right direction. And
I will say that the elemental world does not reach out to everyone.
Yeah.
and they only do it when they really have something to share with you, because we are usually not that wanted in the elemental realm. You know, we're lesser beings in their mind. We're, you know, destructive to the planet. We're, you know, living sometimes out of harmony with the earth, and they don't really like it. They don't necessarily like our consumptive destruction of the planet. So the fact that they would include you means they either want to teach you something very important, or they need you for something. I would be aware of that. They need you to share a message, but probably their message would be about, you know, so they're very sort of environmental spirits, and you must be doing okay, or they wouldn't mess with you.
Well, yeah, they recognize my connection with them, and that I have been channeling them and connecting with them. And so it was very much not necessarily like we were family, but it was that they have love and respect for me, and I have love and respect for them. Like, it, you know, just expressing that it's mutual, I guess.
Into a fairy ring or something. Just be careful with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't go into any fairy rings that you don't know how to
No. But it was very much a lucid dream where I had a clear view of what they look like.
That's when you will contact them, is in the lucid dreams and in that phase, like a phased reality. As far as the other thing is concerned, I think it's just a beautiful demonstration of maybe what the world really looks like without our blinders on. You know? And
or just the increasing light coming in, and that I'm bringing in more of that light within myself and kind of merging with it. And
it's all internal growth.
And that there were others ahead of me on the same path. It was kind of, but I didn't know them. So, but it was the path surrounding my house in my woods, and where I normally see the sunset. It was, you know, but it was, it got like 10 times as bright as a normal sunset, like bright gold light. Yeah, it was amazing. So
okay.
Anyways, you can go on to someone else.
Megan has a question. Megan, do you have a camera and a microphone, or do you need to type? Because I don't see a microphone. Okay, go ahead.
I've been watching some videos from a guy called Ismail Perez, who claims from some alliance and talks about the solar flash and about uplifting humanity. And we all want to believe that these things are true. And there's not going to be much negativity and all that. What can you say about that? How can we make a shift from where we are right now?
Well, how do we make the shift as humanity? Each person has to do it individually.
So the solar flash is not true? It's not true?
I can't comment on if it's true or not. I would just say time will tell. But what I really believe is that every transition that happens, I mean, there are mass movements where things get better or things get worse in humanity. But generally, it's not by magic. It's not some giant, I mean, there can be like an earthquake and mass people die and people get concerned. But explain to me what this solar flash is supposed to do.
He claims that there would be a solar flash, and that this solar flash will lift the veil of some sort for most people and bring about peace and harmony. And it sounded somewhat like shifting to a new earth, lift the veil.
That's possible. I don't know. I think that each person, within themselves, as they connect more to the truth of who they are, the veil is lifted. It's not something that happens externally that changes people. It's what happens internally. Now, you could say where you have an experience like in nature, where you see the beauty in the nature and you're in awe of nature and you're humbled by it, and it forces you to change your reality as far as what you understand. It might open your mind. It could very well be that a solar flash does that. What kind of time frame does he give?
Well, he says there's going to be some kind of a planetary shift by March, April.
Okay, well, let's see if it happens.
Yeah, and that's when, you know.
I mean, I think if it does happen and everyone becomes enlightened in March or April, great.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for that because it's not anything I've channeled. But if he's channeling it and it happens, I'm happy to say great. I don't. You know, the thing is that whether it's true or not, you can change your own alignment in the meantime, and you're in much control. I just think that I'm not going to say no because I don't know. I don't know. I know we're in the Kali Yuga, which is the a time period of, you know, in Hinduism, they don't talk about that time is linear. They talk about time is spiral, cyclical, and there's many different ages. And this age of Kali Yuga is a very difficult time where all of the stuff that is so challenging for humanity sort of comes to the surface, and it gets more challenging. And we're just at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. We've just entered into it in the last several thousands of years, and things are supposed to get maybe worse than better at this time. But that's actually the time where we have to really not rely on what's going on outside, but rely on what's going on inside. So I don't know. I don't know. But I'll be interested to see March to April. If the world is going in a positive direction, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I'm not angry at that idea.
No.
Because
he also mentioned the shift from Pisces to Aquarius. So I figured it's some planetary alignment he's kind of talking about. But it would be nice if that was for the world.
Yeah, I don't know that I think it's bigger than that. But if it happens, I'd be happy for it to happen.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let me just tell you, the Kali Yuga, I just looked it up, is supposed to last for 432,000 years. So
aren't we at the end of it though?
Huh?
Aren't we at the end of the Kali Yuga?
Not that close to the end. It will end, let's see. It began Kali Yuga began 5,123 years ago and has 426,877 years left as of 2022. So no, we're not close.
Okay. Thank you.
We got a long way. I'll just tell you I'll just read about it to you. And let me just say that, like in 2012, when we had that sort of shift, where, you know, a lot of people did wake up. People are more aware of, well, there's a lot of people who are not aware. And then there's a lot of people that really are aware of what's going on. So the goal is to become more in control of yourself so that you're able to sort of navigate through it, knowing that it's, you know, not real. But basically the Kali Yuga is the fourth and present age of the world cycle of ages, or yugas, they're called ages. And it's the end of the 4 ages that comprise the cycle. It's referred as the Dark Age. And in Hindu belief, the Kali Yuga leads to the destruction of the world and the creation of a new cycle. So it's a sort of, you know, in the Big Bang, it's that contraction and, you know, pulling together. It also is said in Hinduism that Krishna will come whenever the world is in great darkness, that Krishna will incarnate to help to bring balance. So that can be the same thing as a Jesus coming back, but that can also be being birthed in your heart, coming back in your heart and finding your truth in your heart. So we'll see. I don't know, but I'm happy to have more positive energy in that time.
Thank you.
Okay, Salesh, you had a question.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon. It's really fantastic listening to you you beloved Krishna, as you would say, Krishna Priya, and Susan and Angie regarding what's this gentleman's name, Corey Wood or Corey whatever he is, because I've never resonated with him. I've never listened to him. I only just found out about him, what you just guys mentioned. But what you three said is what I have been on the last year, is oneness, going within. And my question is, I'm going to Egypt in February, and I believe Osiris and Isis has got something to do with this. Are you able to comment on it?
Well, what comes to my mind immediately is that every land, every country has deities that are part of, specifically more attached to a certain land, even though they are, I would say international, worldwide deities. They do have certain centers of knowledge, centers of power where they're going. And if you feel called to go there and they come to mind, then of course they're the ones calling you. So go with an open mind and trust that you're going on this adventure for whatever you need to be taught or experience in that place. I really believe in, I really would like to encourage everyone to trust. It's like people go, I've always liked Pleiadians. Pleiadians really resonate with me. Am I connected to Pleiadians? And I would say it's the reverse. You're connected because you're connected and you feel the liking of them. It's not usually the other way around. It's because you're connected, you feel the call. So anytime you say, oh, I think that I have a connection, do I have a connection? Yes, you do, because you wouldn't be attracted to it if you didn't. And so I would say yes. And my feeling is that you're going to be pulled, this is my psychic feeling, that you're going to be pulled into some deeper study of their origin and their place and what they are, how they're involved in the working of the world. And I think you're going to get a broader perspective. I even think you're going to be able to make some through lines into how they fit into the divine masculine, divine feminine, and what aspects they are of that. And then how it's relative to your path going forward. And so just go over there and be really open to any experiences you have while you're there. And really do like the tours and get into it so that you'll know where to go, where you want to be there. But my feeling is that you need to have that experience, therefore you're going. Susan's smiling. Go ahead.
I've channeled Isis before, and so I just connected in with her to see if she had a message. Osiris I haven't connected with before, but I got the, yeah, you're being called to reconnect with your homeland. So it's perhaps like a past life connection that, or maybe in this current life, I don't know, connection that you have, but that was like reconnect with your homeland, and that you're bringing your light to that area to help anchor it in, but also connecting your consciousness to that area of the world. And like you said, like go within to connect with what you get in connecting with the land and what you feel, or where you're guided to go, and what you get as far as expanding your own consciousness while you're there.
Because I had a session with a friend, Jim, and he threw a bomb at me, saying that Osiris is my higher self, and this was only last week. And 2-3 weeks before that, someone mentioned to me that you're going to Egypt, and it's to do with something to do with Isis. And all of a sudden, this journey was planned months ago, and all of a sudden, I'm getting hit with all this. These beautiful hits, by the way. And that's the reason I asked, not the reason.
Well, I would say just go in with an open heart and just be open to any experiences you have. And, I would say your prayer now and your your intention now is that you're already preparing, that when you hit the ground running, you will be prepared. And maybe you can even start having some connection now and start meditatively connecting, so that you are able to recognize anything that's being shown or offered to you.
Yes, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, ladies.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
In the chat, Met Wally says he lost a family member or a friend, a dear friend, a couple days back, and he would like some prayers of healing for that person in their transition. So, Met Wally, what's the name of that person? I'll let him type because he's in the chat, so there's a delay. But we can also just do a healing, quick meditational healing if we want, but also for those that passed over.
When I just quickly tapped into that, I got a sense of peace for his friend. I just got a sense of just like peace, just like calmness. So I think that the transition was going pretty smooth.
Okay, his name was the friend that passed, his name Reinhardt. So Reinhardt. So just everyone, just if they want to, just close their eyes and take a deep breath and just allow your focus to be really right here on your third eye, not stressing your face, but just allowing it to be right here. And if you can, just take your hands and place them over your cosmic heart here in the center. And just breathe for a moment naturally, but allowing your focus again to be on your third eye. Just allow your breath to settle through your body. Just feel your chest moving up and down as you breathe gently in and out. And then just allow your consciousness to split for a moment. You have your awareness on your third eye, but you also have a growing awareness of the beautiful golden light, that spark of the divine that lives here in your center. And just as you breathe in, see that light shining brighter and brighter, knowing that that's the truth of who you really are, the spark of the divine. And that when we leave this body, that spark drops the body, but continues on and is eternal. And all the illusions of this world, who we think we are, just become a memory, a part that we've played, a moment that we've had in the body. And as you tune in to your divine spark, feel the love of true knowing expanding and growing within you, knowing that you truly are love and your peace, and in your centered state, you're connected with bliss and stillness. And from this beautiful place of oneness, where we realize we're all like fireflies in the night sky with our sparks, but we're part of one creation. We wish our dear Reinhardt a beautiful journey back to the knowing of who he really is, no longer deluded by the Maya, the illusion, and all memories he has of his life. He can look at them fondly knowing that those who love him and care about him are also looking to him in this moment fondly. Just feel from a very centered place the perfect joy of knowing who you really are. Knowing that we're all having an experience called Reinhardt or Medwali or Salesh, Angie, Susan, Megan. And they're perfect as they are. They're what we need in the moment to have our full experience. And everyone, please just send love and healing to Reinhard in his transition. And love and healing to each and every one of us as we continue on this path of existence, being human. If you can, rub your hands together. Take your warmed hands and place them over your eyes, your closed eyes. And take your hands down your head, giving yourself a prana bath down your arms. And then give yourself a big hug. Wrapping your arms around yourself and allowing the love that's within you to well up. Open your arms and spread your love out into the world and share it with everyone. When you're ready, we'll continue. Okay. Let's see.
That was beautiful. The energy, that was just absolutely beautiful. So many people were doing that. It was beautiful.
Okay, perfect. No, Reinhard isn't from the Hucolo community. He was a friend of Medwali, but he's all of our brother, right? Okay. There was a question from, Otis. Angie, you have to answer this question. What is the name of the Grendel movie? Is that something that can be shared, or is there a reason it can't be shared, or do you know the name?
Sorry. Yes, Jim mentioned it before in one of the other webinars. It is Across the Ethers.
Across the Ethers.
Yes, that was the name of it. And Jim mentioned that a couple.
So from what we know, Otis, is that the movie was shown at a film festival in New Jersey, and there might be some other film festivals. It's not in mass release yet, but apparently once it's done the film festival thing, like I don't know how many other festivals it'll be part of, it will be available to be seen. So as soon as it can be seen, maybe we'll do a screening on Hucolo, which would be really nice to do. But yeah, that's the name, Across the Ethers. Okay, Golden Joan asks, what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to know yourself as divine and eternal, and to know that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, and to, once you have the awareness of who you really are, to be able to move through the world as an observer. But it's really to know yourself, and it's the same for everyone. That's the meaning. So I don't know to expand more than that. It could take centuries. There's entire novels, books teachings, everything built on that. But the meaning of life is to know yourself. And people always say, well, if God is this and God is this, why do bad things happen? Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Thank you. You know, in order for us to know who we really are, we have to know who we're really not. And what we're not is this body. What we're not, even though we're in this body. And this, we're living in this illusion, which is real, but it's not real at the same time. And it's about the meaning of life, the true big meaning, the capital M meaning, is to understand that we are divine, to understand what all of the teachers say is the I am that I am that which remains, I am that which is eternal, I am that which never changes, I am that which has always been, will always be, and will be in the, you know, which always has been and which always will be. That's what we're here to remember. And by knowing who we're not, we sort of go through the process of elimination of, well, if I'm not this body, I'm not this experience, I'm not this world, who am I really? And so why do bad things happen? Well, bad things happen for many reasons, but one of the biggest things is to lose the identity with what we are, what we think we are, who we think we are, and what we think is going on. And to realize we're just having experiences that can bring us back to the truth of who we are. And that is a huge discussion, but that's it in a nutshell. In the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Song of God, basically, it's the retelling of something that happened in a different yuga, where Arjuna, the hero of our story, is asking Krishna, who is God, what is life? And he asks the same thing, what is the meaning of life? And Krishna says it's to know who you are. And the one thing I can say is that in the very first chapter, or chapter 2, Krishna, the story of the Bhagavad Gita is this. Arjuna is a prince. He has been banished out of his lands that were rightfully his by some very jealous relatives who tried to take it over. And when he came back after being banished, they didn't want to give it up. And even when he said, we'll just take just a little bit, they were like, you won't be able to put a pin, a thin pin between you and how much land we'll give you. We're basically giving you nothing. And so inevitably a war was going to happen between these two families. And Arjuna is on the battlefield of war. Krishna, who is God, has incarnated to teach humanity about certain things, but he becomes the charioteer of Arjuna. And they're standing on the battlefield of war, and Arjuna is looking out at his family that he is about to fight, this other side of his family that he's about to fight, people that he grew up with, people that he knew, and he was grieving them. And he's saying, how can I fight my teachers, my cousins, my uncles? How can I do? I can't do it. And Krishna says, no, you have to fight, because you have to live your dharma, your purpose. And your purpose is to be the king of these lands. You can't be the king of the lands if you don't have any lands. But what he says, when he says you have to fight these people, Arjuna goes, how can I fight them? And he says, well, the people that you're grieving for are ungrievable. And he's like, what do you mean they're ungrievable? What does that mean? And what Krishna says is the people that you are grieving for are not their bodies. They're not going to die in the true sense of dying. They've always been here. They'll always be here. And they've always been here. They're ungrievable because they cannot be lost. And that's true for you and me as well. And for Arjuna, it was true. And he was saying, you can't grieve what's eternal. You can't grieve that which always is. And there's nothing you can do to change that. You cannot make what is divine and eternal, non-eternal, and non-existent. You can't do it. It's impossible. So they've always been here. They'll always be here. And they always have been here. And you too. And they're eternal. So, and they're divine. So you can't, there's no reason to grieve that which you cannot destroy. And in the same in the book Course in Miracles, which I quote a lot, it basically says nothing that is real exists. Nothing that is unreal exists, and nothing that is real can be threatened. Basically, it says it backwards. Nothing that is real can be threatened, and nothing that is unreal exists. It's the same thing. You are that. You are that which is eternal. And the meaning of life is to remember that. And once you remember that, you can go through your life observing things that are happening, but not being afraid of them, affected by them in a way that would take you from your joy, from your bliss, and from your knowing. And it's the other thing, the big thing is to be able to help those who are so deep in the illusion that this is real, that they are their body, that they're not eternal, to help them find their way. Because ascension, when we talk about it, it's dropping the illusion of thinking that we're different, that we're less than who we really are. And who we really are is the spark of the divine. So the meaning of life is to remember that. And we all ascend when we ascend. It's sort of like a group effort. We all are pulling for each other, and there will be a tipping point where we remember, but we all individually remember. And the goal of service is to help other people remember, to meet their needs so that they can have the freedom to have this deep introspective thought, that they can see God in action, the compassion of God in action. That is service, right? So why do bad things happen? Well, the bad things happen because people don't know who they are. And then the tragedies that happen, like a landslide or an earthquake, they happen and you don't die anyway. So it doesn't mean you don't help people, but what's the meaning of life, really. The thing about the illusion about the Maya, it's so deceptive. Maya is like a blanket that wraps around you so much that you don't realize you're wrapped around it. You don't realize it. And so you keep forgetting because it's so real and it pulls you in. But the thing is that it's through continual meditation and being centered and remembering that you need to stay centered, that you finally get to the place where you truly know who you are. But there's very few beings on this planet that can hold that knowledge 100% of the time, to where they've transcended the body, there's three different bodies. You've got the physical body, you've got the corporal body, and you've got the etheric body, and the etheric body and the corporal body go with you from lifetime to lifetime. The physical body we drop. But what makes the bodies is our karmas. Karma means action. Karma is not a punishment, a reward system of the universe. Karma means your karmas are your actions and the reactions of those actions. And what builds our next body, what builds our next life or incarnation is the karmas that we have. So until we can transcend all of our karmas, we will still continue to incarnate. And we need the illusion to have the incarnation, just so you know. So that's the meaning of life in 5 minutes or less.
I have something to say. So, like the whole time that you were talking, a lot of things that, what you said resonates very strongly with me. And that I get the Elijah messages, and I, get them ready and I get them out. And almost every message that Elijah brings out tells you how to be that person, how to be that light, how to be that, sometimes he says he's too preachy and things like that. But, as I'm listening to them, the messages, and I'm getting them ready and to bring them to post them, it's just like that's what he really is doing, is helping you to understand the meaning of life. And he does it in so many different ways. He tries to bring it in all different aspects. Am I plugging Elijah? Well, yes, because Elijah's plugging God and, the universal light, source, energy, however you want to do that. But he brings that information to help you be the best you, help you see who you are, help you to understand, what it is that you are doing about bringing about energy and light. So that it's really important that, all that you said, just like exactly, it's exactly that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter what package it comes in, whether it's from
Exactly
a voice or a Christian voice or a
right
voice or a New Age voice or whatever. Pick your. It doesn't matter. Truth is truth, and it's echoed throughout all of the sacred texts that are there. What I was going to say is the one thing that people always say, how do I connect? It's really through meditation. And I don't know how else to emphasize how important meditation is. It is the key to the door for what you're looking for, basically. I made a rhyme, but it is. And there's no way around it. There is nothing external that will take you into yourself. You have to go in. You have to go in. And as you go in, you're able to go deeper and deeper. And the result of meditation, the truest result of meditation, is the realization of oneness, the realization that we are divine. And then the sort of side effect of all of that is the service that comes to humanity of, wanting to realize that there's no distance between where I begin and you begin. There's no distance between any of that. We are one. And so when one of us is hurting, we're all hurting. When one of us is down, all of us are down on some level. You can say, well, I'm happy even if that person is sad. Well, you are, but not if you're connected. Not if you're connected. You will always have a heart for that person. You always have an empathy for that person. And empathy is the greatest result of meditation. And if you don't have empathy for humanity and the world, then you need to go back into your meditation. There's something wrong in your meditation. You need to go back and work on it more. But the true, we go through ages in our life of from the time we're a child to we're an adult, and you have different goals. As a child, it's to learn. As a young adult, it's to earn and to grow your world and to make a family and all of these things. And as you get older, it starts to come, and some people do it out of order, and it's different for every person. But ultimately, what we find as we go on our path is that money isn't everything, that our success is not tied to our job, that our happiness is not tied to having this partner or this car or that title, that basically that our truest happiness comes from really the peace that we have inside. And so we spend a lot of time going through our life, sampling everything else, trying to see what kind of result it's going to bring us. Is it going to make us happy? Is it going to make us complete? Is it going to heal us from our traumas? Is this, having this title, this achievement, is it? Well, those are good things to have. They're great experiences to have, but are they what ultimately brings us to ourselves? They may keep pointing, but we're the ones that have to ultimately go to ourselves. And you can say to someone, well, a car is not going to make you happy, but you might need a car. So you might want to have a really nice car there's nothing wrong with that. But to put all your emphasis on what's going on outside of you to be the measurement of how you're doing in your life is really backwards. It should be more of what's going on inside of you. And then your wants will change too, because if you know the world is one and you know that what you do environmentally makes a difference, then you're going to make different choices and say you would have made if you were just thinking, I want a super hot rod gas guzzling car. Nothing wrong with having a super hard, but it's just choices, and it's not to poo-poo anything. Basically, of course, you can have a hot rod car if you want, but basically, the meaning of life is to know who you are. And when you know who you are, then you will find the empathy and love of humanity and want to serve humanity in the best way possible so that the other people can wake up and know who they are. That's basically a long answer for a short little question. And we have time for one more question if anybody has a question. Anyone? No, I don't see any other questions in the room. Anybody? Basically, Radha, no. Susan's asked. Catherine, anyone have a question? Did I miss a question? Okay. Well, if we don't have any questions, why don't we do the announcements and get out of here?
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah.
good. All right. Scheduled for January 28th and 29th, 2023 is the Master Tarot class, and our Krishna Priya is going to be teaching this class. I'm going to use the information that you did this at the beginning, and I'm going to create a live announcement. So, and that because it was perfectly done. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then and so we are going to, that's for January 28th and 29th, 2023 Tarot Mastery class. Please, if you're interested, send an email to classes@hucolo.org. I will get the information out on how to register for that class. If you have any questions about it, you can also email and we'll get that answer for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. 2023, you said that, I'm like, oh my God.
I know it, just weeks away. And next week is
Christmas Eve.
So we won't be having a class, or we won't be having a webinar next week, but the week after that, our beautiful Jim Charles will be back from Israel, and I'm sure he's going to have some beautiful stories from that.
I'm sure. And so we will do a sort of New Year's resolution, setting our intention for the coming 2023. My God, go figure. Whoa.
Thank you so much today, Karen, for this wonderful information. I mean, everything that was shared and expressed today reminds us to stay focused. It reminds us to use discernment. It reminds us to really know ourselves. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And just for everyone too, just the goal for everybody here is to have the awareness of who we are. And ultimately we have to be our own.
Yes.
We have to be our own judge in that. Is it true for me? Is it good for me? Does this enlighten me? Does this uplift me? Does this, feed me, fulfill me? All of these things. And that's something that we need to be able to do from a very clear place. And there's no, if you liken it to a relationship, if you know a relationship is toxic, don't stay in it because you're afraid of being alone. You're better off by yourself. You're better off standing in your truth than going with something just because you think, oh, everybody else is doing it, maybe I'm wrong. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't go with it. Just trust yourself. That's why we have the feelings. That's why we have the red flag go off, the alarm bells go off. We're supposed to listen to them. It's important. So yes. Okay. All right. So who's going to do a closing prayer? Susan will do one. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, I can do it. Te azua hikia sukoto ya te ahua zia hikia sukoto hazia hua sikatea tu ya tikitu hazia koto haetia ya sikitu ya te taia hosakaya tia tu ya te ko sikatia hazia koto hai sikitu ya te tutu ya he siku te te ko sikitia tu Haizia ki, we are the Palladian star mothers. Sukoto, haizia koto, hea ia siki, hia sukota ia sukoya tua ia tikia o, hia suko, share your hearts with the world. Sukota ia hia sikia ia, sukota ia, sukoya ia sikia ia, as you connect to them yourselves. Sukoto haya te aito ya hia hia sia ia sukotia ia sikia hoto ia hi kia ia embody the love that you are. Sukoto haya te titua hasia ia sukoto ia haskia and expand your love consciousness throughout your worlds and beyond. Sukoto haya titia tu hia ia sukoto ya sikitia hia sukoto haya ia sikitia u hazia koa hia ia sikia hiuko stand in your truth hia sakahaya to ya hazikuto ya hia sikuto hia hia sikia ye be the light of the world. Sukutaya hia the example for others. Sukoto hia sikitia koto hazia hui tia ia sikitia ia hia siku would brighten the lives of those around you. Sukuto haya hia sikia ya sukuto ya hia sukuto hia sukutaya hia by knowing the light that you are. Sukutaya hia hazia the light of the divine. Sukuto hia kia hu hazia kotutaya ya sikitia to hia kia hayo sikataya tuko ya titia u sikia hia sukutu ya tia iko titia yuko ya sikitia itia sukutotoya. Blessings and love.
Thank you. All right. All right, everyone. Much love to you. Have a fantastic holiday, and we'll see you New Year's Eve. Come back so we can set some really beautiful intentions for ourselves and for our planet. All right. I love everyone. See you. Bye.